الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. Today we are going to talk about the theory of contract. This is completely a new chapter. Uh, this is usually the chapter that we used to start after the mid break, uh, after the midterm, after the break, mid semester break. Because this is actually a huge chapter, by the way. It will take few weeks to finish the entire thing. um, at the same time, it is also is not an easy chapter. So I know, with regard to whatever we learn, usul, fiqh, whatever we learn about maqasid, maxims, and then we learn about uh, properties, rights, and then the ownership. All those things are quite easy to understand. Even if you go through the reading yourself, you learn some other places, it will be helping you, mashallah. I think that's all right. But this one is actually a theory of contract, which is, first of all, it's very important for all of you, because we are all here in the faculty of economics, and we need to know about um, the the uh, the birth of contract, how it is actually coming to into existence, and what is it actually that we are supposed to talk, which is a Sharia perspective, right? It seems like quite simple and easy to do any contract, but it became easy because of our own interaction, because we believe in each other. But at the beginning, it was not that easy to do. For example, you just go to any supermarket, you take a soap, and then you come to the counter. You don't even ask how much is it, and then they don't even tell you how much it is, the price. You just give your product, and then they will scan it, and then you will see the price, and then you have to pay the money, and then you don't even need to stay, and you don't even stay there and say thank you, or maybe sayajwal, you believe, these are the things that we are not actually going to say, because it become very easy, because you trust the supermarket, you trust the product, and then you trust the person in the counter. In fact, the person in the counter also trusts you, and you with your money and everything, right? So the interaction becomes so easy. That's because of the culture, because of the custom that we are going through. But now, why we have to learn this according to Sharia perspective? Because we need to know what are the elements that exactly makes what are the elements that make a contract valid. That's because we need to know what are the elements is not going to make a contract valid. So we need to understand the permissible elements and prohibited elements, so that we can actually understand the theory of contract, which is al-aqd. So I want you to be, I know it's usually I used to repeat during the class time, during the face-to-face learning, because I can see your face whether you understand or not. If you don't understand, I always repeat multiple times. But now it is actually quite difficult for me, because we are not doing face-to-face. I know I can see a couple of faces, not everybody's faces, but I will do slowly. And for those who already understand or maybe understood, for them maybe it is good to hear again. But for those who are new to this subject, I think it is gonna be like slowly we can understand, we can go together. I just, you know me, I don't want to give you something asking you to memorize it. I want you to understand it. That's what from the beginning in my class I used to tell. Fiqh means understanding. If you don't understand, then you don't go to the next chapter until you clearly understand. And as a lecturer, I'm available for you to to make you understand in whatever way it is. You can contact me anytime. Particularly any information you need, you can call me or contact me anytime. I'm available. Yeah. Okay. So let me start. What exactly the contract? So we are going to learn the definition of a contract, right? Then we are going to learn the pillars of contract. So first of all, before you go into any chapter, you need to learn, you need to see the outline of the chapter, right? You see, when I talk to you about ownership, when I talk to you about property, I gave you the outline. So usually in my slide, the first one and two or maybe three, these are the slides are quite important for you to understand the skeleton of the class. You don't have to, if you don't understand the skeleton, the content of the class, then it will be difficult for you when you read alone. When you go through the slides alone, you will be lost somewhere. So I give you, particularly for this class, I give you the skeleton first, what we are going to learn from this entire chapter. Then I will give you the new chapters later. So in this chapter, we are going to talk about, of course, the definition of contract. That's going to be a small part of it. Then we are going to talk about the pillars of contract. Remember, these pillars of contract is going to be traveling with you until the end of the semester, because it's a huge chapter, as I told you. Remember these three pillars of contract. The first one is expression, which means offer and acceptance. The second one is the parties to a contract. Then you have the object or subject matter of a contract. If I have to give you an example, expression means the way, how do you make offer or how do you accept some offer, all right? The way that you initiate to do a business, whether you want to do online, like today we are doing, like we are buying stuff from Lazada or Shopee, some other internet software, or you want to go to the shop and ask for stuff and then pay them. So these are the expression. So what kind of expression we need to know, we will inshallah talk about it. That is the first pillar of a contract. We will also discuss, is it the expression is one of the pillar within all imams, all fuqaha jurists, or is there any differences, right? You will also need to know the differences between majority of scholars and Abu Hanifa. What are the differences? That is going to be the first first pillar. I think maybe today or maybe the next class we will be finishing. Then we will move into the parties to a contract. What I mean by the parties is you and me. There's a buyer, there is a seller, right? Only these two parties are there. Whether I want to buy something, I become the buyer, and you want to you want to sell something, you become the seller. But now, who can become buyer? Who cannot become buyer? On what circumstances you can become seller and you cannot become seller? What are the qualities that you need? What are the qualification you need to become capable of doing such thing? Who cannot? What are the obstacles to become the seller and buyer? So these are the things we are going to talk about in pillar number 2. Then we have pillar number 3. Pillar number 3 is very simple, the object or subject matter of a contract, which means the thing that we are going to buy, the stuff that you are going to sell. All right, if it is phone, that phone become number 3. So the phone is actually what? The object or subject matter of a contract. Why? Because we need to know what are the conditions is going to be for that subject matter. What are the stuff that you can sell? What are the stuff you cannot sell? And what is the criteria to sell something? Can I sell something which is not existing right now? Can I sell something which is going to be existing after a couple of weeks, right? Can I sell something which was existing long time ago, right? So these are the things, inshallah, we will be learning in number 3. All right. So this is what actually the entire chapter is going to talk, entire chapter. But today, what we are going to talk? is this. Definition of contract. Then we will talk about the first pillar of a contract. The first pillar is what? Expression, which is offer and acceptance. In Arabic, it is called sigha, right? Sigha, like you say, I believe, saya jual, saya bili. So these are the things that bi'tu or ishtaraitu. These are the words that we are using it. It becomes expression. Now we are going to talk about what are the conditions of expression, what are the clarity, because these are the conditions. There are three conditions of expression. When you say I want to buy something, there must be clarity, and there must be conformity of offer with acceptance, and then there must be continuity between an offer and acceptance. For example, there must be continuity. For example, you want to buy something, you have to finish it on the same session. You cannot say, oh, last year I told you I want to buy, so that offer is not valid. Anyway, you don't worry about now. Now I'm just giving you the synopsis of today's class. If the time allow, I can finish it. This is the synopsis of the class. I will inshallah discuss with you clearly. I will discuss with you the condition of expression, clarity, conformity, continuity later inshallah. Okay, so with that note, let's go into the introduction. You need to know why we are actually doing contract. Why contract is actually very important. Because without contract, you are not able to exchange things. The most important thing in contract you need to know is called mutual economic needs. You see, every person has something in his hand, and it is also true, not every person, not there is no single person has everything in him. It is impossible for someone to live alone. It is impossible almost. Yeah, he needs somebody's help, he needs somebody's expertise, he needs somebody's stuff. So now when you need somebody's thing, what you do? You do the transaction. How do I do the transaction? I say, look, I want something from you, but you don't have to give me for free. What I do, I have something that you might like it. So you take mine, I take yours. This is what we called mutual exchange, right? So now, if you look into the beginning of the time, there was a barter exchange. I think you know about the barter exchange. It is simply you take things to the bazaar and you give it to them and you take whatever you need. So the bazaar, the supermarket, the market people will take things from you and then they will send it to somebody else. So now the only thing that it's making you halal to use it, it's the consent. Remember here, the consent is the big word. Never forget the word mutual consent. Let me tell you this way. There is a person, he needs a kind of service from someone, and then someone is ready to offer that service for particular amount of money. So you had that service from him, then you become the expert, and then you started earning millions and millions. So now let me ask you, let's say let's say a footballer, I think most of you like football, right? Soccer. Let's say a footballer, he paid to somebody like, for example, 1,000 ringgit to learn the tricks and everything, and he become the professional footballer by paying 1,000 ringgit to somebody, and then later he became the very famous footballer, and he started earning millions and millions. I think you can understand. I can give you more examples. This is one of them. So now, paid 1,000 ringgit but earning millions and millions, right? Tell me, what is that thing that this transaction is, what is that thing making this transaction is halal for you? It's because of the consent. The trainer, the one who offer you training, he actually uh, had a consent to take that 1,000 ringgit from you. It doesn't matter. You are the one who supposed to go. You are the one who did, and you went out, and then you explode, and then you became the famous footballer, right? This example can be given to everything. For example, you buy pomegranate, or you buy a mango, which is so delicious, but you spend only 1 ringgit. So now the same mango you buy from somebody, but he asking for 10 ringgit. So now you clearly see what makes the first mango that you bought from someone for 1 ringgit, how it makes, because you cannot actually put the value of something which is already in a different, it has a different essence, because I'm talking about a mango that no man can create. A mango is a natural. We pay 1 ringgit, but do you really think that this 1 ringgit can be equal to that mango that Allah has created? Because now is a mango season, so I'm talking to you about mango. If it is durian, yeah, I will talk to you durian. I like them both. So I'm just telling you, uh, is it like, what exactly makes that mango is halal? Definitely, maybe that mango came from some subcontinent, or maybe some other European countries. It's so delicious, but you are getting it for 1 ringgit and then you are eating it. So there must be something how that mango is halal for you, just paying for 1 ringgit. It's not because 1 ringgit made halal for that mango. It's because of the consent. When you trade, the fruit dealer, the fruit seller, he said, okay, I'm happy with that 1 ringgit, whatever that you are going to give me. So now read the Quranic verse. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu la ta'kulu amwalakum bainakum bil batil illa an takuna tijaratan an taradin minkum. Look at the word taradin. Allah said, do not eat within yourself, do not eat. Because Allah said, when you eat something without giving anything, it is actually batil. La ta'kulu amwalakum bainakum bil batil. If in case you want to do exchange, if you want to buy something from someone, do some exchange. Taradin is actually mutual consent. Make sure that you are making a deal. Yeah, you are making a deal, and then you actually make that mutual consent. So that is the word taradin. All right. Otherwise, there are so many ways that there are so many other ways that can prohibit you from that mutual consent. For example, usuri, riba, maisir, gambling, ambiguity, giving short measures, because you won't be happy. Do you think? Because when someone giving you money and then asking for return, additional return, which means actually riba, definitely you won't be happy. Are you happy to pay back 10% extra? Nobody is going to be happy. Let's say you borrow 1,000 ringgit from me and I ask you to pay 1,100 next week. Definitely I'm going to be happy because I'm getting that 100 ringgit. Are you happy to give additional 100 ringgit? So when I am happy and you are not happy, then there is no mutual consent. There is only my consent, because I'm going to get extra 100 ringgit and you are not getting it. So Very nice thing about Islamic way of transaction, Islam says there must be mutual consent. You must be happy, I must be happy. Then, same thing going to gambling. There is no way that both of the parties will be happy. Ambiguity, giving short measure, all these things will be like cheating, fraud, bribery. When you do bribe, same thing. There is no mutual consent. It's not going to be useful and beneficial for both of you. That's the reason why it is all those kind of things are prohibited. Taking another property through misinformation, wiring advertising, and labeling also comes under unlawful ways. It also covers all transaction on prohibited haram things. So you can clearly see all these things are actually unlawful transaction. All right. The only valid way through which ownership could be transferred is mutual agreement, as I told you earlier. And we will, inshallah, discuss the principles of trading and mutual agreement, and we'll explain detailed rules and regulation on the formation of a contract. So, with this introduction, you need to understand what is the definition of contract. In Arabic, it is called aqd. It's actually aqd means tying, something that you tie together. Let's say you have to end together, for example, like this mask, and then you just tie together. So once you tie like this, it become aqd. uh, Tightly tying something. Arabs used to use this word for firm belief and determination. Yeah. Also, when you say aqd al yamin, means you promise something, you give an oath. Even I think you know the word aqdatun nikah. You already know the word aqdatun nikah means nikah is also marriage ceremony, is also a kind of kind of aqd, kind of transaction. It's a contract, right? Because there's a husband, there's a wife, they are actually making a contract on the basis of the marriage. So this is also called aqdatun nikah. And Allah says in Surah Al-Ma'idah, "O you who believe, fulfill your obligation." Yeah. So what is exactly the definition in Islamic jurisprudence? You can say the real definition of contract aqd is a legally binding obligation which has consequences for its subject. Remember this. This is a legal binding of obligation, but it has a consequences for its subject, because it's very important what you are selling. It is very important what you are buying. There are consequences, yeah? So you need to understand. Let's say someone selling something and then he run away. No, cannot. If someone selling something, he has to be the responsible of what he is selling, because whatever that he is selling, it has to be functional, it has to be useful, it has to be valid, it has to be not expired, it has to be active. Someone cannot sell you a box and you don't know what is inside. Cannot, because that is called majhul. It is not ma'ruf. So which means that you cannot buy that kind of thing which you don't know what is inside. It's a kind of game, right? That's why which has consequences for its subject. Subject is what? Let's say I have iPhone. I'm selling you my iPhone for 500 ringgit. Then you say, are you sure? Can you sell iPhone for 500 ringgit? Yes, I can sell for 500 ringgit, but the condition is you cannot open it until I go, until I leave this place. We need to say that he has not taken any consequences for its subject. I am ready to buy the iPhone, but I want a working iPhone rather a toy iPhone. Why should I buy a toy iPhone for 500 ringgit? I barely spend 5 ringgit for a toy, isn't it? So remember the word, a legally binding obligation which has consequences for its subject. All right. So you can clearly see from here what are the examples being given according to Islamic law. A promise may not be legally enforced, although it is strongly recommended by religious and moral values to be fulfilled. Even the breach of promise to marry does not give a cause of action according to Sharia, which means that you see the breach of until the marriage. The marriage, there is a part of one part is before the marriage, which we called like proposing something, or we call it we call it like, you know, khitab. In Arabic they call it khitab. You just propose and then you wait until you get married. That is actually a kind of wa'd, meaning to say that promise that you are making. But that promise is not going to be a contract. The contract is uh, the day you actually start doing the real nikah, the khutbah. That is the day you become husband and wife. Before that, you don't become husband and wife, because that is just a promise. Yeah. Okay. So promise is widely used by Islamic banks in BBA and Murabaha transactions, because sometimes promise also can also make legally binding. As I told you, promise is not legally binding when it comes to marriage, but promise is can be a legally binding when it comes to, for example, today we are doing the transactions like murabaha. Yeah, for example, they are taking our money and then they give us promise saying that we will give you certain percentage from the profit. It's kind of promise. Also, when you do like bay' salam, by istisna, there are so many promises that you need to go through. So yes, some promises can become legally binding, some promises cannot become legally binding. You need to understand the differences. Yeah. So I think you can read the same thing here in this page. Okay, once we are done, now we are done with the introduction. We are done with the pillars of contract. Now we are going into, sorry, we have done the introduction and we have done the definition of contract. Now we are going into pillars of contract. In Arabic it is called arkan. Yeah, because rukun is what is considered to be necessary for a thing to exist, because without rukun there is no such thing. Let's say you are building something, there must be pillars. Without pillars I cannot build anything. Without pillars it will go down, right? It will fall down, right? So now what are the pillars of contract? Consent is the cause for the existence of a certain contract. If either party to a contract does not give his consent, the contract does not exist. Even Prophet ﷺ said it is unlawful to take the property of a Muslim except by his consent. You cannot take anybody's property. You can take it only if he has a consent. Also, we need to know this consent is actually a hidden phenomena. Let's say, how am I supposed to know whether you are happy with it or not? I will not know until you express it. Uh, that's the reason why I really like the way sometimes I go to Kirerunchit and then I buy something. I always see the person, the lady, the one who sold to me, he will say, Saya jual, Saya bili. So these are kind of expression that they are doing it. But I really like to see that kind of expression. But at the same time, expression can be made in many, many ways. Not necessarily it has to be all the time oral. Not necessary it has to be. Sometime you go to a machine whereby they are selling drinks. So when you put money, until you fill the money, the light will be red. Once you fill all the money, the currencies that they required, then it becomes green. So green means good, happy. So green means showing the consent. Yeah. And then you do the transaction online and then you see the tick comes is kind of consent. And then you go to supermarket, even though the person is not talking to you, but she or he put inside the plastic and giving it to you is a consent. Yeah, so consent is a hidden phenomenon and unless expressed. Yeah, okay. And usually the consent, all this together, if you put it, usually the consent has two part. Number one, it is called an offer, ijab, and acceptance is called, it is called qabul. Yeah, so you have ijab and qabul. So now, let's say if you are offering something to me and you are actually the seller, right? You are selling something to me, then it is called ijab, and I am accepting your stuff, whatever that you are selling, then I become qabul, then I become the buyer. So you are the seller, I am the buyer. Okay, this is how apparently it is understood, but there are some other definition, different explanation that I'm going to give you, so don't get confused. All right, but I will tell you this because there is something that you need to know here, which is amazing, which is also part of our study. uh, as I told you, there are some sort of differences between ulama, and there are reasons why, because as I told you, every single differences that we are going to discuss in this class, it's not I'm just discussing with you for the sake of written somewhere, or maybe they are, but there's a reason why we are discussing this kind of differences. Maybe you may think, like some of you may think, why should I know according to Hanafi what is it, according to Shafi'i what is it? I'm telling you, this is actually the study, because you are, as a scholar, you are a student and a scholar, you have all the right to learn all this and then apply in your life, because it will help you for your understanding. Because nowadays there are so many new ways of transaction. So sometimes you will be like lost somewhere, whether this kind of transaction is correct or not, and you're always looking for an ustaz to tell you, to give you the green light. I'm telling you, not necessary. If you understand all this, you can become your own ustaz. You don't have to find one. Maybe you don't have to disturb somebody who is already have so many clients to answer, right? So if you understand what exactly the root problem is, then you can clearly make your own fatwa. As a student, because you are the scholar, you can make yourself understanding. That is why we are not talking to public, we are not talking to layman, we are talking to a professional like you. I hope you can understand all this. Even though there are differences, you can clearly understand the differences. That's my job, to make it understand. According to Hanafi, there is no three pillars. Yeah, usually in the classroom, I ask you to repeat with me. What are the three pillars? Uh, Maybe I don't know. The online classes is like, I think you people are enjoying listening to me. I hope so. Or I don't know, some of you listening or some of you doing something else. I hope everybody is listening. But it's okay. Time to time, actually, you can also come in and say yes, say okay. At least, because I don't know, when I'm doing this sharing the my I'm sharing my screen to you. I don't see you at all. I only see my screen. I don't know whether I'm talking to you or I'm talking to my computer.
For listening, sir.
Thank you, at least, because it is quite
You're
strange.
listening, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. After 40 minutes, huh? I hope,
Still here,
because
still here.
this is really strange
We're still
experience.
here, sir.
Alhamdulillah,
Yeah,
mashallah.
we're here,
Many
sir.
many people are still hearing. Very good.
We didn't want to interrupt you, sir.
I know you are you are respecting your lecturer. You are.
You too.
I know, I understand everything, but it's like, am I talking to real people or to the computer? Especially, I tell you, especially when I'm sharing the screen, I don't know why I cannot see even my face. It's in my screen. It's completely screen. There is nothing that I can, whether I can see you, I can even sometimes I see myself, right? Even now I don't see myself.
You can change
Uh,
the layout, sir.
the layout. Oh, I
Yeah.
think if it is
To see our
possible, that
face.
that should be good, you know. If I can do
Yeah.
that, yeah, at least. So now you actually can see. I can actually see you. Can you see the screen and myself?
Yeah, we can see you clearly, sir.
Yes,
You
sir.
can. Okay, you can also see. You can also see my screen, right?
Presentation, yeah. Yeah.
But the but you know the but you know the problem. I cannot see my screen now. I can,
Sir, we can see your screen, but
yeah, but I cannot see the screen. So you know, it's like I don't know what I'm teaching. That's another thing. Yeah.
Hmm.
Maybe I need to learn more. As I told you, I'm still learning. Like yesterday, last night, I learned something. I will learn. Don't worry, inshallah. Okay. Okay, I'm going back to my screen. Just in case you can just answer me. So at least I know. Okay, can I ask you what is the three pillars?
Um,
Okay, please. Someone can answer. Yeah. Just talk. Do not write. Just talk. Yeah.
First pillar is expression,
Yes. Expression. Yeah.
then إجابة قبول صيغة.
That is the expression. Yeah. All right. I think I will go back to the thing. Okay. It's here. It's here. I know. I know. Because you don't have the slide. That's why. Okay. Remember this? Can you everybody see this?
Yes.
Yes. So what is the first one?
Expression.
Second one?
The parties contract.
Yes. Very good. Number three?
the object
The object or subject
Exactly.
matter. to
So
contract.
you clearly understand these three differences, right? You clearly see
Yeah.
three entities. It is called. So according to majority, this is the pillars of contract. Right. Now let me tell you how Hanafis are different. I don't know why always they are different. Yeah. A contract stands on two pillars only. There is no number. There is no number two and number three. According to Hanafis, there is only number one,
All right.
which is offer and acceptance. Okay, let me go back to this and then I tell you again. Okay, according to majority, three pillars, right?
Yes.
You can also see my cursor is moving.
Yep.
Very good. Very good. Okay. So now you can see all these three is actually belong. I mean, majority scholars are coming with this. But Hanafis, they say there is only two pillars, which is number one is offer, number two is acceptance.
All right, sir.
You understand now?
Yes.
See, number one is offer. Number two is acceptance. In other words, the two pillars of Hanafi is the first pillar of majority scholars. Am I right?
Yes.
I repeat again. In other words, the two pillars of Hanafis is the first pillar of the majority scholar. So number two and number three is not a pillar according to Hanafi scholar, but it will be automatically join the ijab and qabul. Okay, I will see if I can show you. Yes, this one is better now. Okay, see now Hanafi pillars of contract is ijab and qabul. Right, majority pillars of contract is number one sigha. Inside sigha they have ijab and qabul. Then number two contracting parties. Number three subject matter. Okay, so I tell you why they have the differences and how this difference is going to benefit us, because sometimes you need to know this. اختلاف الأئمة رحمة للأمة. They used to say this. If ulama they have different opinions, it is always a blessings for the majority people. You know why? Because sometimes we can follow that, sometimes we can follow this according to our circumstances. It is always helping us. And in this scenario, I think the Hanafi's pillar of contract is going to be very, very helpful, especially what you are doing right now, the online transaction. In the online transaction, you don't have the real subject matter in front of you, and you don't have the seller in front of you. So there is only ijab and qabul. You sell or you buy and they sell, and there is only the sigha that we are using. There are so many examples I can give you. I will go one by one, inshallah. So let me just go back to this. Okay. According to Hanafi, the contract stands on two pillars which are offer and acceptance. According to Hanafi, the element of aqd include anything that manifests the meeting of two intention either through conduct, action, or writing. Some other matters are not considered as the pillars of a contract, however, their existence is necessary. For example, it is necessary that there must be contracting parties in order to have ijab and qabul. How someone has supposed to do ijab and qabul without parties? If there is a ijab and qabul, for sure, it is not going to come from nowhere. It is going to come from two human beings, two different entities. Similarly, there must be the subject matter upon which the parties have the agreement to indicate that there is the meeting of two intention. For sure, if you are going to deal with something, if you are actually dealing ijab and qabul, definitely there should be a stuff, there should be a subject matter. Without subject matter, why I have to just come and do? I will not do it for fun, right? I will do it. I have to do it because there must be some subject matter. That's why they say the existence is necessary, but they don't have to become the pillar. Because you see, when you call it pillar, if one of the pillar is not available, can you perform transaction? So according to majority, if there is no single pillar available, if there is one of the pillar is not available, then the transaction cannot be possible. It is not executed. But according to Hanafi, it is possible because they never call it pillars, isn't it? So that is the differences we are going to learn here. So according to the majority schools of the fiqh, as I told you, there are three. One of them the expression sigha, number two the party and the parties, al-aqidan in Arabic. Al-aqid means the one who perform aqd. Al-aqidan means is a plural, two people, right? Number three, yeah, to musanna, right? Two people. Then you have number three, the subject matter, mahal al-aqd, or the property on which a contract is concluded. So this is what according to the majority school. This is also I already explained to you. Pillars of contract, but Hanafi have only ijab and qabul, and majority have three, one, two, three, sub sigha, and then contracting parties and subject matter. Okay, then with that information, with that background, we are now going into the first pillar of the contract, which is expression. You call it ijab and qabul, and then you call it also sigha. Sigha is equivalent to expression. Then if you want to know what is sigha, then you have to agree that it is ijab and qabul. Okay, so mutual consent of parties is the basis for formation of a contract. However, consent is an intangible mental fact because no one can see it. You don't know. If you keep it yourself, I will not know your consent until you express it. Therefore, this intention must be manifested in sufficient form, whether it is the word from your mouth or maybe your action, conduct that indicates a definite intention to contract. So sigha, what is the definition of sigha? A method to manifest the intention to contract. Yeah, that is any method. I'm telling you, it is not necessary that you have to all the time you have to use. Let's say if I say you have to use your mouth, you have to use your tongue to express your sigha, then how about people who cannot speak, right?
Mm, true.
So that is the thing. So that's why a method is important. Maybe they can show their hand to
Mm,
express their intention. Yeah. So a method to manifest the intention to contract. It consists of ijab and qabul. The contract is concluded when the connection between the ijab offer and qabul accept takes place. So it has to be connection should be made. For example, I said I want to buy this property last year, but this after 1 year someone cannot come and sold to me because I asked that. It has to be connection, it has to be the same place and time. I offer you and then you accept it. It has to happen, not necessary it has to happen a physical place. It could be you can do it over the phone, you can do it online, but it has to happen, there must be connection. Yeah. According to Hanafi, okay, here there is another different issue. I mean, another explanation which is actually different. So I hope you are ready to understand this. Uh, Now, as I told you, what is offer and what is qabul? I mean, what is offer and what is acceptance? Yeah, offer means I want to sell my phone, then I become the seller, and accepting means you become the buyer. Yeah. So now the majority of the fiqh schools offer is a statement that comes from the seller who is an owner of a property. Qabul is made by the buyer or the person to whom the subject matter or the contract is addressed, regardless as to whether this comes first or later. So now the difference between Hanafis and majority is this. What I told you just now is the majority, but according to Hanafi is different. According to Hanafi, offer could be buyer, could be seller. Okay, for example,
yeah.
You cross my place, you came to my home as a visitor, and suddenly you saw my watch, which is actually attracting my watch, yeah? And then you say, are you available or can you sell your watch to me? See, I am the seller, you are the buyer, but who is initiating the sale?
The buyer.
Exactly. See, if you are the person who initiate the sale, then you become the
Yes.
offer. You become the offer,
And
and I will become the acceptor, right? So you become the ijab, I become the kabul. Let's say it could be some other examples, maybe if you want to know. There are some antique items that they are selling, and then you go there, and then suddenly you saw a house, very old house or something you want to buy. Suddenly you saw a very old car someone is driving, right? You just go there. Is it your car is available for sale? Right? People ask or not? Is it your is it because I noticed that no one is renting your house. Is it available for rental? Isn't it? People usually say, I have seen your mango trees are there full of mango, but no one, I don't seem like you have time to sell. Can I buy your mangoes from the mango tree? True or not? So this is actually possible. That's the reason why if you are the person who initiate the business, then I think you become the offerer, and then the later one will become the acceptor, right? So If the first statement comes from the buyer and the second statement comes from the seller, the latter is considered offerer, while the former is acceptance. Yeah, so I hope you understand. They give an example. If a buyer in a sale contract offers to buy the goods from the seller by saying, I bought this book from you for ringgit 100. So you are the one who say, I bought this. To which the seller replied, I sold that book to you for ringgit. In this situation, according to Hanafi's view, it was the buyer who has said the ijab, being the first person who manifested the intention to contract. On the other hand, according to the others' view, the word of seller is the ijab, since he was the owner of the book. Yeah, so these are the differences are there. And then let me tell you what exactly the forms of expressing consent. As I told you, it could be any method, then you can actually express your consent, whether it is a spoken words or verbal communication, or maybe you can actually use any kind of indication, any kind of sign language also you can do in order to express your consent. Any phrase and words are acceptable as long as they reflect the intention of the offer. Words should also indicate whether the contract made by the parties is a sale, walk-off, rent. There is a big difference between renting and selling. You have to tell, I want to rent your place, or I want to buy your place. It's a different thing. I want to rent your car, I want to buy your car. It's a two different thing. Yeah, you have to mention whether renting or selling. Both present and past tense may be used, but future tense cannot be used. Let's say I say, okay, I buy your watch. I sell this watch. Or you can also use the past tense. I sold my watch to you. I bought your watch. So you can use the word past tense and present tense, but you cannot say, I will buy your watch. See, when you say, I will buy your watch, it is not a contract, it's a promise. And that promise can not necessarily it has to become binding. It could be not binding. Yeah. So that's why you cannot use the future tense. You have to use the past and present tense. Like this one. For example, the phrase, I will sell the house to you, only indicates the promise to sell in the future. A contract also may be concluded by writing. For example, email. You can send email for writing. You can send email for expressing the consent, or maybe the gestures. As I told you, a dumb people can show a sign or gesture is equal to speech. Yeah, a contract may be also concluded by action. Not necessarily it has to be word. Like for example, nowadays we are going to cash and carry places like Mu'ata is actually Murawada is actually cash and carry places. Customarily, these are the transaction accepted. Like for example, you go to any supermarket, you don't talk to anybody, you just take things and come to the counter, and then if you stay there, the lady will tell you, please move, because the next is waiting for, right? So the things are differences. Like for example, modern means of communication like a fax or internet or whatever it is today, even sometimes you go to ATM, you do transactions there, right? You go there, you don't even talk to people, but you talk to machine. You actually exchange, or maybe you transfer money to somebody from your ATM account to somebody. It is all okay. Machines that dispenses food and drink or coins are considered to be return exchanges. Yeah, you put 5 ringgit there, the coins coming out. This is all of them will come under this. Yeah. Then we have conditions of offer and acceptance. When you do this offer and acceptance, make sure that there are 3 things are there. One is a clarity. You cannot be like in between, whether I can buy, I cannot. It must be clarity, conformity of what you are buying and what you are offering. Let's say if you sell a person that offers to sell 2 computers for RM 3,000, the buyer should accept the offer and buy both computers for 3,000. He cannot buy one of the computers. You see, the conformity is there, because maybe the computer is 2,000 ringgit, but he is ready to give you If you buy two computers, then it is 3,000 ringgit, which means that he is giving you discount. It doesn't mean that, oh, since you said two computer is 3,000 ringgit, I want you to give me one computer for 1,500 ringgit. No, the truth is the computer is 2,000 ringgit, but he is giving you discount for two. So remember this thing. And then continuity is very, very important. As I told you, it has to be same session of contract, which is Majlisul Al-Aqd, we call it. Let me tell you about the session of contract. The session of contract refers to a period of time in which an offer is made, negotiated, and accepted while both parties remain at the same place. They have to be on the same place. It is very, it is important. Also, this means that acceptance should be made before both or one of the parties separate and leave the place. Also, if acceptance is not taken within a particular time, offer may not survive. The party who has made the offer has the right to withdraw or change the offer. Let me just drink some water, yeah?
Sure, sir.
All right. So with that note, you will understand now the particular time is very important. If you, for example, you are in the place, like for example, you are negotiating, suddenly something came up. Suddenly something came up, and then you were not able to continue, which means that the seller has no right to keep that open for you. You went outside, you were doing something else. Later, after 2 hours, you come back, you say, no, I was talking to you. No, because you have already broken, you have already passed the session. So when you pass the session, the seller has all the right to sell that product to somebody. Yes, unless you pay some deposit. You know, paying some deposit, it looks like you are confirming it, but you are just talking, and before you, it's like a negotiation is going on. Before you confirm, then you went out. We need to say that the seller has all the right to sell to somebody. That is why the session of contract is very important. The majority of the Fiqh school are the opinion that offerer can also withdraw his offer even within the session of the contract, but before an acceptance could be made. Meaning to say that, as I told you, this is a consent. Yeah, you need to understand here whether your offer and somebody's acceptance will not be confirmed until you exchange thing. You see, the negotiating doesn't mean that the contract should be finalized. So majority of the scholars, including Abu Hanifa, majority of scholars say an offerer can also withdraw his offer, right? A seller can anytime can withdraw. Let's say before he wanted to sell to you, he say, okay, I don't like selling to you. He can say that. Yeah, but according to Maliki, is a different thing. He say, unless the offeree accept or rejects, the offer cannot be withdrawn within the session. Meaning to say that the buyer of offeree is actually buyer. The buyer has to accept. He said the buyer has all the right to accept or reject. If he accept or reject, until he do that, the offerer, meaning the seller, has no rights. He has to be there. These are the differences are there, but other than that, as I told you, like for example, even in Aqadatul Nikah, like I told you, until the moment you say qabiltu, and then they say also qabiltu, until you both of you, after the khutbah, you say you accept, until that time, both of them has all the right to go away from the marriage, because aqda, the contract will happen only until both parties mutually they express their consent and exchange the subject matter. Yeah, so I think with that I will stop. I will